Oh, welcome into the Russ Joy Show, live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Come on down. You're the next contestant. Hello. I am tired. I am jet lagged. I've been up since 4 a.m. Eastern. It is not 4 a.m. Eastern out here in sunny Las Vegas. Did you know that it's currently cooler in Las Vegas than it is in the general Philadelphia area? If you didn't know, now you know. I think it's like 83 degrees here. I want to say it's like 87 back at home in Philly. I don't know which hotel is over my shoulder. That is the Resorts. Does that sound about right? It says Resorts World Hilton. You can't see it, but right over here. Let me see. Can I move this? You can't really see the Trump Hotel is back there as well. Welcome in. Got the Vegas backdrop today. I've tried to do this in the past. If you remember back up in the Toronto show, I tried to show the backdrop and I couldn't get it to work. I overlook, apparently, there's a big pool outside. Anyway, reporting live from Las Vegas, where the Phillies are getting ready for Game 2. I mean, they're not getting ready for it here. They're getting ready for it where you guys are watching in Philly. I was here about it was almost exactly a year ago is when the Phillies took on the Mets in the wild card round. And so I would go live down at the Yahoo Sportsbook at the Venetian, and I would watch the games. And I was watching with a bunch of Philly fans and a bunch of New York fans, and it was a terrible thing to have to watch. But I am here, and I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to get hurt again because the Phillies, of course, are about to take the field. Now, I want to be very careful here because obviously the show is going out around 4 o'clock your time out on the East, and we're not that far away from first pitch. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on the Phillies, and especially for the people who watch after the fact, for those who listen to the podcast feed, I don't want to totally derail what is an otherwise evergreen episode where we're going to talk about the Eagles. We will talk about the Connor McDavid extension that is, I think, fundamentally bad for the National Hockey League Players Association. We'll get there in a little bit. Could affect the Flyers. And I totally forgot that in the midst of all of this news and in the midst of the cross-country flight, Ryan Ellis is no longer a member of the Philadelphia Flyers. We'll have to get to that as well. And as if that weren't enough, because why would it be? The Eagles lost their first game. Eagles lost their first game to the Denver Broncos in a game that should have been winnable. I would argue was winnable, should have been won. And what are we talking about coming out of it? We are talking once again about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And so we will get to all of it. But before we do, I'm going to pull up the comments down here over on the bottom right. Wow, look at that. Some are already populating, but we have other ones. I'll go out to Jim here first. Jim Cochran over on YouTube says, if Turner, Harper, Schwarber, and Bohm go 1 for 12 tonight with 5 to 7 strikeouts, can we finally admit this isn't the lineup that will ever get it done? I saw a bunch of stuff coming out of Game 1, and I think it's really important that we note this is not a totally unforeseen circumstance that we find ourselves in Game 1, right? And I know that people like to really go back to the fact that this team is supposedly different and that things to close the season were significantly better than they were in 2024. And there's a lot of truth to it. And I'm not going to backtrack on feeling good about the team going into this series like I did last week. However, I will note it is an imperfect team at an imperfect time playing an imperfect opponent. But they had a great start in Game 1, and they puked all over themselves. We're not going to relitigate the entire game because it'll drive you absolutely nuts. It'll drive me nuts. But Christopher Sanchez was pitching incredibly well, leaves the game with a 3-2 lead. Robertson comes back out for the 7th, doesn't go according to plan. Strahm ultimately gives up the home run to Hernandez that wins the game for the Dodgers. There were enough things that went right in that game that we should have been able to walk away with a Game 1 win. And we should be talking about Jesus Luzardo taking them out in Game 2 and that feeling like a potential momentum shifter and something to build off of momentum-wise, that you go from being the underdog in the series to taking a 2-0 lead back to LA. And instead, you're looking at Luzardo as having to be the guy who's going to right the ship. And I don't even think the ship was ever really wronged, right? Because Sanchez's start was impressive. The bullpen stunk. We kind of expected that to happen. But it was the top of the lineup. And again, if you're listening to this way after the fact and Game 2's already happened, you can just skip ahead. I'll try to put like a timestamp or something in the episode, or you can skip ahead. But the top of the order is a legitimate issue. Turner coming back, issue. Fine, but an issue nonetheless. Schwarber's inability to perform in the postseason the way that you need him to, not ideal. Harper, practically non-existent. Now, congratulations to the Harpers. They announced their third child, I believe, Hayes 3 Harper, was born, which is great. But as a father of 4, and as many of you in the comments may be parents, you know, this spells doomsday for Bryce Harper, because unless he lives in such a massive estate that he has his own wing of the home, Bryce Harper's not going to sleep. The time I would actually expect Bryce Harper to play well is on the road when he's in a hotel room without a crying newborn. That might be where he finds a little bit of peace and a little bit of solace. But as things stand right now, it's going to be a tough game for the Phillies to win. We'll see if they do. But there was a stat going around today, and I think it's probably worth chatting about. And it is from somebody that I consider to be not a friend of the program, because I'm often very critical of his show and his demeanor on Twitter and on his show, John Kincaid. But I saw he compiled the stats, and if nothing else, I am fair and balanced on this show. So I'm going to go out to the John Kincaid tweet from earlier today, and this is where I think a lot of the frustration lies, and maybe it doesn't for you, but it does for me. Since Game 2 of the 2023 NLCS, when the Phillies led the Diamondbacks 2-0, in the postseason, Trey Turner is 5 of 37. Bryce Harper is 7 of 32. Kyle Schwarber is 7 of 35. That's 19 for 104. That's a 183 batting average. That is not good. Now, I saw somebody who previously, I mean, this is a long time ago, had beef with me for, I forget why. Natalie Eganoff has been taking flack from people on Twitter because she's been saying it's time for put up or shut up for Bryce Harper. And people saying, well, Bryce Harper has this incredible OPS over the course of his career in the postseason. And I will simply point back to the fact that if this team is to have any chance against this Dodgers squad, Bryce Harper has to be their best player. And it can't be close. Bryce Harper needs to be definitively the best player on the team. You can make the argument that Kyle Schwarber had an MVP caliber season and that it's, vastly critical that Kyle Schwarber performs up to that MVP level, and I'll agree with you. However, this team runs through Bryce Harper. And if he can't get the job done as MV3, this Phillies team is going to be in deep, deep doo-doo. And listen, we all know this. This is not breaking any news to anyone. If you face an 0-2 hole going out to LA, I would say the series is effectively over. If the Phillies were to somehow win 2 on the road and then force it back here for, Game 5, cool. But I'm not totally sure that that's the way I want to go. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Game 2. Jesus Luzardo on the mound could be one of a few things, right? We saw Jesus Luzardo early in the season who looked like a potential Cy Young candidate, and then all of a sudden the season got derailed where there were questions of whether or not he was tipping pitches. A lot of people got very concerned about Jesus Luzardo. And then it felt like later in the season, he started to put back together a lot of the stronger starts, show you a lot of the stronger stuff that we thought Jesus Luzardo was going to give throughout the season. We saw it at the end of the season. So the question now is, which Phillies team are we going to get in Game 2? Am I confident in Trey Turner? No. Am I confident in Kyle Schwarber? Yes, to a point. Am I confident in Bryce Harper to be a solid enough player? Yes. Am I confident in Bryce Harper to be an MVP caliber Bryce Harper right now? No. Am I confident in Alec Boehm? No. Am I confident in Brandon Marsh? I would like to be. There were things in Game 1 that made me very upset. I like Edmundo Sosa a lot. I think I've sung his praises on the show plenty of times for you guys to know that I like Edmundo Sosa. Did I like the decision to pull Marsh to allow Edmundo Sosa to hit with the bases loaded? I did not. I think Marsh has played well enough. I don't give a shit as much of the lefty-righty matchups. I would have let Brandon Marsh hit. Now, one of the big questions that people had during Game 1 was why Harrison Bader was pulled. There's a very brief time where no one knew why Harrison Bader was pulled. We just saw Nick Castellanos going in, and I was very critical of it. And then there were some people on Twitter who will remain nameless, although you can see the quote tweets. Some people who claim to have a podcast that apparently don't have a podcast and get very nasty and do a lot of name calling. And I actually got the block for me. I almost block nobody, but there were some very weird and kind of mean things said on Twitter that are not in any way, shape, or form even remotely indicative of wanting to have a conversation, just having a difference of opinion. So the rare block came out. But I will say the Bader of it all is a problem. So Bader's going to miss game 2. It sounds like there was a thought that Bader might be able to hit in game 2, but certainly can't play the field. Obviously, your best defensive outfielder being out, not a great thing for this Phillies team. We're going to see what today looks like. I have no idea what to expect. I just know that I'm disappointed that it feels like this Phillies team that was starting to get a little bit of better injury luck coming back their way. You were getting back Turner. You got back Bohm. You wanted to think things were going to finally go well, and there was going to be that little bit of, karmic payoff because you lost Zach Wheeler. You wanted to believe things were heading the right direction. Then you lose Bader. And Bader, to me, has been almost as much of an emotional leader on this team as anybody else. He's been about as good of a good vibes guy as possible. Now, there's one good thing that you can come out of today, okay? There's one thing that you can look at and say, all right, if Rob Thompson is to learn anything from the other day, it's that he has to be willing to get creative coming out of the bullpen, because you simply cannot go back to the crew that you went to in game 1. And Ranger Suarez was a name that came up because if you remember, the thought was that Luzardo was going to start game 2, Suarez was going to start game 3, and then you'd probably try to get back to Sanchez. There was a question about whether Nola or Walker Buehler could see a start. Everybody expected Suarez to be available in game 1. And when you have a close lead, even if you saw, all right, Christopher Sanchez got himself in a little bit of trouble before he gives up the 2 runs, you think, all right, well, if you put in Ranger Suarez, he's a high leverage guy. He's always been able to perform at the most critical moments should Suarez have come into the game. And then as things started to kind of unravel in game 1, you say, like, why the hell wasn't Ranger Suarez brought into the game? We got a little bit of good news today, I guess, if you want to think that there's good news. Obviously, with Luzardo on the mound, Christopher Sanchez will not be available after pitching game 1. But there is a belief now that Ranger Suarez could theoretically be brought in out of the bullpen in game 2, which is potentially problematic because he's set to start game 3. But then again, if you lose game 2, there is no game 3, realistically, right? There will be a game 3, but if you lose game 2, the series is effectively over at that point, going back to LA. Let's go out to Rob Thompson. This is earlier today. He was asked about whether or not Suarez will be available coming out of the pen, whether or not he'll be willing to go to just about anybody not named Christopher Sanchez in game 2. Let's go out to Rob Thompson, also known as Lyndon B. Johnson's doppelganger.
How difficult is it to balance? You need to win tonight, but even with the off day tomorrow, you don't want to gut your pitching and have nothing for game 3, I guess.
Yes, this is a big game tonight. You know?
It's a big game tonight. Newsflash. I don't know if you knew this or not, but Phillies lost game 1 at home. Game 2 is today. It's a big game. Thank you, Rob.
We talked about all year long about winning series and how the first game's important. Well, second game's pretty important when you get to a 5-game series or 7-game series because it's a swing game. So, we'll use Ranger out of the bullpen tonight.
He says we'll use Ranger out of the bullpen. We'll see if it happens.
And leverage. It'll still be an emergency, meaning extra inning game, long extra inning game. And then we'll figure out game 3.
So you expect to use Ranger, or he's available?
He's available. I'll use him. I could use him at any point.
I don't see it. I have to be honest, though. I don't see it. Because if you were to use Ranger Suarez out of the bullpen in game 2, you're taking him off the table for game 3, which means then you're going to Aaron Nola or Walker Buehler. I don't see it. I don't think it makes sense. Now, obviously, if you're in a very close game and you feel like that is the break glass in case of emergency, you need to walk away with the win, and you think Suarez is your best option in a high leverage situation, that's fine, I guess. But man, can you imagine having a 1-1 split at home, and then instead of having Suarez just go out and kill it in LA, you then have to hand the ball over to Aaron Nola, who's been inconsistent, Walker Buehler, who was a late addition, and in fairness, does have history with the Dodgers and might actually pitch pretty well out there. I don't see it. I don't see a scenario where Suarez is in there tonight. I could be wrong, though. We're going to find out one way or the other. I'm going to go out to the comments here, and then we're going to get off of the Phillies because, as I said, very, for better or worse, the show kind of butts up against the Phillies game, I think. Actually, let me take a goosey gander here really quickly because since I flew across the country today, I've not been on top of the time. I don't like the 3-hour time change, by the way. It's very confusing to me. All right, so the game's 2 hours away. So again, most of this may prove to be totally irrelevant by the time the game comes around. But we will go out to the comments. So we have to talk about the Eagles. We have to talk about the Flyers a little bit. We have to talk about Connor McDavid and that mess. So we'll get out there in a second. Let me go. Holy smokes. There's a lot of comments here. Okay. Let's try to fly through as many of these as you can. Reed DeFord says my mental sanity depends on a win tonight. God love you, Reed. I hope it's going to be okay. Legitimately, I hope it's going to be okay. Joe Papel says, hey, Russ, winter is coming. It's now spring. Spring is coming. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, they announced, is going to be coming out in January. The Duncan Egg story of Game of Thrones comes out in January. So there you go. We were talking about the weather before. Jim says, but it's a dry cool. Oh, it's dry. It's dry out here. It's so funny to fly over the desert and you look out and you're like, is that the Grand Canyon? And I'm an idiot. So I'm just like, it kind of looks like the Grand Canyon. Is that the Grand Canyon? I don't know. But it's a desert. It looks very different. So there you go. Let's see. Tony Louie says, oh, snap, got Russ Joy on the new 70-inch TV. Tony, let us know what kind of 70-inch TV you got. You a little TCL? You got a Vizio? Did you go the LG? Samsung? Sony Bravia? We have to know. The people want to know. Let's see. Chris Reed says, will Russ Joy take a stab at the Sanchez situation, or will he strike out like a Phillies batter in the playoffs? Anyone done a wellness check on Intern Andrew since the end of the UCLA game? Intern Andrew's not doing well. He's very upset. He was on this. I don't even know what to call. I need people to give me an idea of what to call it when I have Intern Andrew and video Guy Amedeo. Like, of course, there was the Rat Pack, right? Then Howard Stern had the Whack Pack. I need to know what to name it when I have Intern Andrew and video Guy Amedeo on the show together. But Intern Andrew was not doing well this weekend. As you can imagine, the Snow the Goalie group chat was pretty wild with Bundy poking and prodding Intern Andrew about the Penn State game. The good news for him, of course, is that there's still Gavin McKenna, but the football season's done. What did they go from number 7 to unranked? Brutal. Now, if you believe Diana Rossini, she thinks that Penn State is a Philly team, so that's always fun. They're not, but she thinks they are, so I guess that's important. I don't know. Let's see. I got to fly through as many of these as I can. Spencer Turnbull, thank you for being here, Spencer. We miss you. Says, Ryan Ellis is available out of the Phillies bullpen tonight. That's huge. That is huge. Absolutely huge. Greg Bondarenko's here. Hello, Greg. Hello, Greg. K-Dub 1323 says, Phillies look no further than the last few. I don't know what that means, but okay. Connor Buss says, Russ, message Ohtani you're in Vegas so he makes a stop on his way back to LA. I'll have to let him know. I think that we should have sabotaged Shohei Ohtani. Hear me out. What do we have right in the sports complex, right? Of course you have Citizens Bank Park, but not that far away, you have the live casino. How did nobody get Shohei Ohtani wasted at a craps table? How did nobody get Shohei Ohtani like deep into a poker tournament or comp him drinks at a slot machine and miss his start? I think we failed. I think as a Philadelphia fan base, there was a massive failure not getting Shohei Ohtani to the casino. I don't know why we would say that, though. It's not like he bet on sports or anything, because he definitely did. It was totally his translator. Definitely not Shohei Ohtani, who's totally unaware of all the money that was out of his account. It's just how it works. Yeah, nobody knew. Nobody knew. Oh, here we go. K-Dub says, Phillies looking no different offensively than the last few playoffs. That is correct. I'm going to try. Oh, let me see. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here about both the Eagles and the Phillies. And Ford chiming in on Natalie Eganoff's take, and I agree with her. I'm very much in the what have you done for me lately thing. I don't give a shit about your historical stats. I pulled up the stats from since 2022 against the Diamondbacks. The numbers are not great for Bryce Harper. He needs that big moment. He needs a big moment of some sort. Connor Allen, with a very interesting perspective. Every year this keeps happening, makes me appreciate the 2008 roster even more. We can put the Howard versus Schwarber comparisons to rest most likely after this week. You kind of always had a feeling when Ryan Howard went up, right? It was either going to be a strikeout or that ball was going to go into the third deck. There's really no in between. I still feel okay about Schwarber. I still believe in Kyle Schwarber, but I really, really need him to get the head straight. I need to get Kyle Schwarber at MVP level Kyle Schwarber to feel like this team has a legitimate chance. Jim Cochran. Oh, I'm not shocked. Ant was doing Phightin Words this morning. He defended the top of the order. Ant is not an objective baseball writer like yours truly, although I don't write about it. I'm objective about the Phillies. Anthony Sanfilippo, not so much. Lovely guy, not objective. Let's see. All right, I have to skip through a bunch. If I miss anybody's comment, and there are a lot of them here, Papel says I look a little orange. The Trump Hotel is right back here somewhere. So it could be that, Joe. You never know. You never know, do you, folks? We've got an orange Russ with a hotel behind him. We love it, don't we, folks? We love it. What is that? Is that fire? It looked like fire. Is it Hell's Kitchen? It's not. It's a slot machine. That's a slot machine. What's down the... See, Vegas is interesting to me. I'm here for work. I don't fully understand all there is to understand about Vegas. I'll give you this breakdown. I like food. Vegas has a lot of really good restaurants. So I enjoy Vegas for the food. I probably won't have time to get to a show. I think there's one night this week that I might be able to get to. I think they're doing Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. I would like to see Penn and Teller. I almost want to see a show, like one show while I'm here. But all of the illicit things that people do, I don't participate in. So that part of Vegas just it's not for me. So it's like restaurants, maybe a show, do the work stuff. Here we are, Here we are. All right. Chris asks, have you taken a driverless cab yet? No, I didn't know they have it in Vegas. Now I'm going to have to look. All right, so that's the Phillies. We spent more time on the Phillies than I intended on, but I think it's because I know that I don't want to have to get to the Eagles, but I have to get to the Eagles. Don't want to, but I'm going to. So the Eagles lost. We all know that. Why the Eagles lost? We have a lot of different thoughts and a lot of different theories. Now, I'm not one to blame refs. If you've been paying attention to the show for the past year plus that I've been doing it, you'll know that I'm not a big believer in the refs screwed the team. Oh, the refs screwed the Sixers down the stretch. They screwed the Flyers. They screwed the Phillies. They screwed the Eagles. That's not what this is. The officiating on Sunday was horrific. Horrific. Multiple calls or lack thereof down the stretch that effectively maybe didn't cost the Eagles the game, because I think the Eagles made enough mistakes on their own to cost themselves the game. But there were enough calls and missed calls in the fourth quarter of Eagles-Broncos that I think it fundamentally shifted the likelihood of the outcome being in an Eagles' favor. The Dallas Goedert play very late in this game, where he's being draped on by two different defenders, clear as day pass interference. After the game, the officials address it, and they said that they saw hand-to-hand combat is how they defined it. Hand-to-hand combat on that play. Now, I can't really show you the video of the Dallas Goedert end of game play, right? Where it probably should have been from the 4-yard line. We can't exactly look at that here because YouTube will flag it and they'll freak out that I'm using the precious NFL's footage. So we don't want to do that. But Dallas Goedert very clearly was being assaulted at the 4-yard line. And it should have been pass interference, and they didn't call it. The officials did not make the call. And it's frustrating. And you probably should have had a first and goal from the 4. One play, enough time left on the clock to run one play. And that's what should have ultimately decided the Eagles-Broncos game. And instead, the officials don't call pass interference. Earlier, Broncos have the ball. There's a conversation about whether or not the Broncos quarterback Bo Nix intentionally grounded the ball. And the referees converged. They conferred with one another. And they ultimately decided that there was a receiver in the area. Now, he was 10 yards away from where Bo Nix was throwing the ball. But they conferred and they decided that there was a receiver in the area. Now, on the telecast, it was very confusing because they said that there was a replay assist. And then I tweeted about the replay assist and said, how the hell do you have a replay assist that can come down, overrule a penalty? And then late in the game, on one of the last plays, Dallas Goedert has two dudes draped on him. Very clear pass interference, but there's no replay assist for that. And somebody was like, well, replay assist can help to pick up a flag. It can't help to assign a penalty, which the NFL needs to get it figured out. All right. I think that more than anything, you watch games like Eagles-Broncos and you say to yourself, even if you're being fair, even if you don't root for either team, the league needs to get replay figured out. Is replay assist a thing? Is replay assist going to be akin to what VAR is in soccer, where like referee misses a very blatant bad foul that is probably a bookable offense, a yellow card, a red card, and the referee running on the field gets a notification that like, hey, there's a play that happened. This is going to go to video review. And remotely, right, the decision can be made, hey, you need to go to the board, take a look at it, and then the ref goes, oh yeah, that's definitely a red card. He like kicked a dude in the back of the head. That's a red card. I missed it, but the VAR officials, right, they saw the kick to the head. They called the ref in. The ref goes, yeah, it's easily a red card. The NFL has to decide if that's the way they're going to go. Major League Baseball is talking about the robots to call balls and strikes. In the NFL, if you're going to try to call everything fair and balanced, I am now of the opinion that maybe there needs to be somebody in a truck who can make a call to override things, because there is not a single person on earth who should look at the intentional grounding penalty and say, yeah, that should have been picked up. Absolutely not. It was an intentional grounding. It cost the Eagles. It didn't cost the Eagles the game, but it certainly hurt the Eagles' ability to come back and win, because ultimately it gets the Broncos in position to kick a field goal where the Eagles have to go for a touchdown instead of putting the game on the leg of Jake Elliott. So you have that play. That plays another. There's a ball to Jahan Dotson where I thought he had both hands in, both feet. I mean, maybe they thought that the ball was moving a little bit. I thought he had 2 feet in, and then the third foot obviously came down out of bounds. Didn't like that call. But at the end of the game, after all of the questionable decisions, of all the questionable calls or lack thereof, Jalen Hurts uncorks a Hail Mary. It wasn't the last, but he uncorks a Hail Mary. And I want you to take a look at this beautiful little screen cap, because this is the difference between a win and a loss. This is the difference between the Eagles once again coming out of a win, feeling not great about it, talking about how A.J. Brown is probably unhappy with his touches again, and having to come out of it with a loss, talking about A.J. Brown not being happy with the touches that he got. This is the Hail Mary attempt. Right here you have Devontae Smith. He's got his hands on it. Here you have A.J. Brown behind him, kind of pulling a Jack to Rose in Titanic, right? Never let go. And if you watch the play, it almost looks like A.J. Brown plays defense in a way on Devontae Smith and rips him down. And then you have Devontae laying on top of A.J. Brown at the end. Not a great moment. Now, you have 4 guys going up battling for the ball. They're all wearing white gloves. It's not a situation where if you're maybe 3 of them are wearing white gloves. I think, is this a black glove right here? I think this is, yeah, there we go. See that little zoom action? There's a black glove in here. So you have 3 players going up with white gloves. And I guess the question is, should Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown have communicated better that they're both going up for the ball? Well, of course, they're both going up for a jump ball at the end of a game for a Hail Mary. It was disappointing, though, because in theory, Devontae Smith had the ball in his hands. It gets knocked out. If Devontae's not there, A.J. Brown probably comes down with that ball. So either way, one of your top 2 wideouts probably makes the play and you win the game. And then we're having the uncomfortable conversation about the team not looking great, but still being undefeated. Instead, you don't get that. Instead, you have an uncomfortable loss that should have been a win, where you feel like complaining about some of the referees' calls and lack thereof feels justified. But realistically, this was an Eagles game where it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of chutzpah in this squad again, where they blow a late lead. They have a strong enough start to the game. They blow it down the stretch. You have a 14-point deficit turn into a 15. They go on a 15-0 scoring run, do the Broncos. Eventually, they win the game by 4 points. It's a maddening game, and it's one that the Eagles should have had. I also like this, by the way. Chris Green says, if the glove don't fit. Cochran says it should have been pass interference on AJ. I'm really, really frustrated with the Eagles right now. I'm frustrated with the fact that it feels like every week, what had previously been an undefeated team and what could have very well been an undefeated team again has gotten to the point where we are out every week. I mean, it is every single week now. We have to talk about whether or not AJ Brown is happy. And Diana Rossini puts out over the weekend that not only is A.J. Brown not happy, but also Devontae Smith's not happy with his touches. Oh, great. We have a team that starts off undefeated. They're running the ball, not as successfully as they did a season ago, but it's a run-heavy team. It's a very successful running attack. And then on Sunday, it was as if Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo said, all right, A.J. Brown, maybe Devontae Smith have voiced concerns about not getting enough touches. And they said, all right, well, we're going to flip the script. Instead of being a run-first team, we're going to be a pass-first team. And Jalen Hurts put up good stats. Jalen Hurts put up good numbers on the day. They didn't win the game. A.J. Brown had plenty of targets. Devontae Smith had targets. Jahan Dotson had targets. They didn't win the game. And it was almost like the perfect microcosm of the argument of winning flashy or trying to win flashy versus just doing what it takes to win. And after the game, you heard Jalen Hurts kind of talk about how important it is to just go out and get the job done and win. Saquon Barkley said essentially the same thing. But of course, people got worked up because there's a ball that Jalen Hurts throws to A.J. Brown far down the field. And it looks like A.J. Brown stops his route early, stops running. He gets asked about it after the game because, of course, he does. And people started the comment, but we are going to go to it. We're not going to show the clip of the route. You've all seen it by now. But A.J. Brown talks to the media after the game. And, of course, the media is trying to figure out, do you hate your quarterback? What happened on the play? Is A.J. Brown going to bail Jalen Hurts out? Is he going to throw Jalen Hurts under the bus? Here's what A.J. Brown had to say about the route that he very clearly stopped running on and what happened on that play.
From my point of view, it just missed.
It looked like you slowed up on the play. Did you not think the ball was coming your way, or what happened with that?
It's not that I didn't think the ball was coming. When I looked up, I didn't see the ball. And I looked back, I didn't see the ball. And then the ball was thrown. So, like I said, we just missed.
Did you guys talk after?
So I actually want to re-rack this a little bit because A.J. Brown says it was a miss, which would make you think, oh, he's shitting on Jalen Hurts. He's saying that Jalen Hurts overthrew him and Jalen Hurts is an idiot, a loser, and he hates him. Okay, cool. But he then says a little bit later on, we missed, meaning there was a breakdown in understanding or communication between the quarterback and the receiver. Now, based on Jalen Hurts' throw, it would appear as though he expected A.J. Brown to keep running. A.J. sort of admits that he stopped running on it. There's something in here, though, that makes me a little bit concerned. I'm not telling you that it's the end of days. I'm not telling you that A.J. Brown's about to start doing sit-ups in his driveway. But I want to go back over this again real quick because there's something in here that I find deeply concerning.
From my point of view, we just missed.
This is
It
the part
looked
that he
like you
clarifies.
slowed up on the play.
There
Did
you
you
go.
not think the ball was coming your way, or what happened?
So Elliot Shore Parks asks, it looked like you slowed up on the route. Did you think the ball wasn't coming your way? So the question is, do you think the ball wasn't coming your way?
With that,
It's not that I didn't think the ball was coming.
It's not that I didn't think the ball was coming.
When I looked up, I didn't see the ball. And I looked back,
I looked up, didn't see the ball. Looked back, didn't see the ball.
I didn't see the ball. And then the ball was thrown. So,
And then the ball was thrown. Okay, so let's piece that together. He essentially admits that he stopped running. Why did he stop running? He looked up, didn't see the ball, looked back, didn't see the ball, and eventually the ball was thrown. He was asked, it looked like you stopped running. Did you think the ball wasn't coming? Well, if the ball isn't there and the ball isn't there when you look back, presumably you stopped running because you didn't think we were going to get the ball. And the reason that I bring it up is because this is akin, I'll piss some people off. This is akin to like Kamala Harris writing a book where she says she didn't pick Pete Buttigieg for a certain reason, that he was gay, that she didn't pick him. And then when asked about it, hey, Kamala, you wrote in your book that you didn't pick Pete Buttigieg because you didn't think the country was ready for a gay vice president. And she said, well, I didn't pick him because he was gay. I picked him because we had 107 days and it was an unprecedented place for us to be as a country. And I just thought that with myself on the ticket, that the country might not be ready for a gay man to be the vice president on the ticket. And so if you re-rack that, and if you synthesize it, you then say, so you didn't pick Pete Buttigieg because he was gay. AJ, why did you stop running? Well, it's because I looked up and I didn't see the ball. And then I looked back and I also didn't see the ball. But then the ball was thrown. So you stopped running because you didn't think you were going to get the ball. All right, cool. Cool. This is where I get frustrated because there's a lack of accountability. And I have defended A.J. Brown week after week after week after week after week. I defend A.J. Brown. I tell you that I think A.J. Brown is a very good wide receiver. I tell you that I think A.J. Brown is a guy who is somewhat misunderstood and is going to contribute to this team in a meaningful way. And what happens? Every single game, we have to dissect something that he either tweets out, puts on Instagram, or in this case, says post-game. Now, I am not stupid. Stupid people would say, well, then you have to trade A.J. Brown. That's for stupid people. I'm not stupid, and I think you're probably not stupid either. It's not a good idea to trade A.J. Brown. It's not a good idea to cut bait with A.J. Brown. They have to figure it out. But it does feel like this week, the Eagles deviated from a very successful plan. Run-heavy plan. Put the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands. Allow Jalen Hurts to not play mistake-filled football. Allow Jalen Hurts to mitigate the damage of potential turnovers. They got away from that plan to pacify at least A.J. Brown, if not also Devontae Smith, and they became a pass-first team, and it didn't work. Were the numbers better? Were Jalen Hurts' numbers better? Sure. Did A.J. Brown get to see a higher number of targets? Sure. Did Devontae Smith get to make some big plays? Sure. Or have the opportunity to? Sure. Did you win the game? No. Is that the most important thing? It is. It feels like Groundhog Day. And Amedeo points this out, and he's right. There was also a question asked post-game about, what he and Jalen talked about after that play. And here's your problem. They didn't talk. Jalen and AJ did not have a conversation after the play. If you want to believe that there's no issue between Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, as I would like to believe, then you would think that those guys after that play are probably going to talk to each other and say, yo, what did you see or what were you thinking on that play? Let's make sure it doesn't happen again. But apparently they didn't talk. If I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm probably saying to myself, dude, it looks like you quit on the route. What the hell? If you're AJ Brown, you say, yo, dude, you got to release that thing sooner. But they didn't talk. Feels like Groundhog Day. What's going to happen after the next game? Who knows? I have a basic idea. Eagles probably have a strong outing right on Thursday night. They probably have a really strong outing because I don't know why they wouldn't. And it's a divisional game. And it's in prime time. And it's on the road against the Giants. And it's probably also worth noting that the Giants stink. And that they're 1-4. And that there should be a good bounce back opportunity for the Eagles. But I also fully expect that we're going to be in a scenario, in a situation once again, where we're going to be talking about an A.J. Brown quote after the game. And I'm not here for it. Ford says, Eagles shit the bed. Refs decided to also shit the same bed. Correct. Jim Cochran with a concerning thing, but I think he's right. One more game like this and AJ's doing sit-ups on his front lawn. We'll see. I hope not. I really do. Because this team isn't as good without A.J. Brown. We all know that. Even if A.J.'s not getting a ton of targets, even if he's not, given the opportunity to make plays in space, this team is significantly better with him than it is without him. They have to figure it out. Joe Papel says it's important to keep these guys happy, but in the second half of the 14-point lead, you have to run the ball. Correct. Absolutely correct. Amedeo says possible Phillies game 3, Eagles and Flyers opener on Thursday. All of that is correct. Of course, the Flyers have to play in Florida. And that's actually a good transition, Amedeo. Well done. We will talk about the Flyers here for a second. We will talk about Connor McDavid for a second. And then we're going to roll on out of here because I have lots to do, like go to In-N-Out. Because there's an In-N-Out not that far from here. I'm going to go eat some In-N-Out and then get ready for some more work stuff. The Flyers appear to have their roster finalized. That includes Jet Lachenko, who's going to start the season with the team. Danny Briere met with the media. Didn't make it sound like Jet Lachenko's here for the full season necessarily. He will get a look. Remember, he'll have that 9-game look. The 999. I call it the 999.
I call it 999.
That's how many games Jet Lachenko is going to get to try. All right, Jet Lachenko is going to be out there. He's not just going to get one look. He's not just going to get 2 looks or 3. How many games can he play again, Herman Cain?
I call it 999.
You, Herman. Thank you. So Jetlachenko is going to play at least to start the season. We have to see what's going to happen because him going back to Guelph would suck. Him going back to Guelph would be an unmitigated disaster for the Flyers. And at the same time, you have to question whether or not he's ready to play at the NHL level. I'm not so sure. I brought up last week, if he goes back to Guelph, he better work on his shooting. He better work on his ability to actually score goals, because shy of that, he's not a great player. Oh no, I just got an update that my laptop is about to restart and I can't stop it. All right, so we have 52 seconds. Oh boy, I might have to change this for later about Connor McDavid. Here's what I'll say. The Connor McDavid extension is catastrophic for the National Hockey League players. He was supposed to set the market. He signed a contract worth $12.5 million per year for 2 seasons. That is an unmitigated disaster for the NHL players. There's no way to get around it. Kirill Kaprizov set the market. McDavid should have gotten at least $20 million. This is now a referendum on the Oilers. You have 2 years to get me a new goalie. You have 2 years to improve this team, or I'm out of here. But in the meantime, he should have set the market. He failed to do so. I'll be back on Wednesday with the Russ Joy Show, maybe even tomorrow. Who knows? Who's to say? From out here in Las Vegas. Until then, it's been the Russ Joy Show. I've been Russ Joy. If you figured that out because you're smart, it's also the name of the show. Go subscribe, like the video, share the video, subscribe. My computer's going to restart.